Okay, so I've got my basic cutouts for these openings, which you might remember we did using Edit Profile. And now, if I go back into Plan, we can of course see those openings. And I've also got there the sill showing, which gives us an indication where the door opening is going to be as well. So the door is between this reference plane and the edge of the sill there, and then this opening just goes the whole way across with a sill the whole way. And so again, I'm going to use the curtain wall tool to put in our shop fronts, which you can see here. So to get to the right curtain wall tool, I'm going to click on the wall button, go to the wall tool, and then go through the list of wall types and find storefront down the bottom, or towards the bottom. But I'm going to change it before I draw anything. So I'm going to click Edit Type, and then Duplicate, and let's call it Shopfront. Then I'm going to change the vertical grid from maximum spacing to none. And then let's go check this actually, so that I think it's more like, well, we'll have to see. I think 2400 is okay. So I'm going to leave the horizontal grid on 2400, but we may need to adjust that. So that's the only change I'm going to make, just that vertical grid's being set to none. We'll click OK. And then I'm going to draw, starting from the bottom of each opening. So I'm starting from the bottom here, and then going up to the top. So notice how my glass goes to the left of that line that I'm drawing on. I'm drawing on the centre line. So if you accidentally draw from the top, don't panic, because you can press space to flip it as you draw. We essentially want the glass to be on the outside of the building, or towards the outside. So I'm just going to click on the top there. It's going to tell me highlighted walls overlap. I know that, so that's fine. And I'm just going to go down then and do the same on the bottom. So again, just tracing over the center line of that wall. And again, ignoring that warning. It's telling us that our walls are overlapping. And I know that because I haven't brought this wall up. So it is overlapping. So that's all I need to do in Plan. And now I'm going to go to my 3D view. And you can see quite clearly there that we can see the bottom of this wall because the sill there is cut away ready for our door. But we can't see the bottom of the wall over here. And that's where it's overlapping. Well, it's overlapping partly here as well. So I'm just going to have to check that distance in, and probably in the, if we go back to our plan view, you'll see in the west elevation, we should get a good view of these openings. So I'm going to go to west in elevations. And so then I'm going to select my, my curtain wall in this view here. There it is. And so I've drawn the dimensions on here that you can use. So the base offset is 500 mil. So that brings the bottom of the curtain wall up so it sits on the sill there. And then I'm going to change the top constraint to unconnected. And then type in the height that again you can see there to the right, 2850. And you can see now that wall fits perfectly inside that opening. But then, yeah, I thought this would happen. So the problem now is that my, my transom, this piece going across, isn't at the right height because it's been lifted up by the height of my sill. So we'll have to go and make an adjustment to that. And, well, it's a bit of a process, so I'll leave that for now. I'll come back to it. because essentially if I change the settings, you might be thinking, well, we can just go and change the setting in the wall type, but if we do that, it's going to change the other one, and the other one is going to be measured from the bottom. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. I'll come back and adjust that in a moment, and I'll fix the other wall. So again, I'm going to select that wall, and then change the base offset again to 500. Oh, sorry, leaving that on 0, sorry, that's what I was just talking about. So leaving that base offset on 0 this time, and then I'll change the top constraint again to unconnected, but this time I'm going to add those two values, and that's why I've got the dimension there over to the right. It's going to be 3350, this unconnected height. So again, now we can see that the transom, or the window head actually, is showing up there. Okay, so what I might do actually is I'll show you a quicker way of doing this and using the grids. We could use the grids to adjust the height of this transom here. I think it'd be easy if we just go into here and use edit type, duplicate, and we'll call it Shopfront 2. And then I'm going to change the spacing here for the horizontal grid to 1900. So now you can see they line up. Still doesn't look quite right, so I'm not sure what that door height is. I thought it was 2400, but it must be a bit lower. Oh, sorry, a bit higher. Has to be. Unless maybe the opening's a bit high. Yeah, maybe that's it. Actually, the opening probably is a bit high, so I think our original measurements might have been a bit out. But we can adjust that once we get the awning modelled in. So I'll leave it at that for now, because 2400 would be a good height for that door head. So now I want to put in these vertical pieces. And so for that, I'm going to use curtain grid on the architecture tab. And if you have a look at the options there, you can do some really beautiful things with this option to choose how many segments you want. And what I mean by that is you can do your own arrangement of patterns. And if you know a lot of modernist buildings, and one I always think of here is the Rose Seidler house, which I'll just quickly show you. So I've modelled that house a few times for different things. And if you don't know it, that's what it looks like. So you can see here these patterns of openings, which they've gotten just by adjusting the grid there. So we're going to do something very similar. And when I've made this house, I've used this tool to do all those windows, and it works perfectly. So again, here with the curtain grid tool, I'm going to go to one segment instead of all segments, and then just make sure I'm picking above here. I'm not worrying too much about the exact measurements. I think we'll need to fine tune those anyway. So one up there, then one over here, and then looking back at the image, we've got one in the middle, down the bottom. Now we can come back and fine tune the way these mullions connect as well. So don't worry about that if you're looking at those joins. Now over here though, I can put in the one at the top on the right. I'm going to leave the next one until I fix the bottom here. So to do that, I'm going to select that wall. And then notice how, just like any other wall, you get that option to edit the profile. Just like we were looking at last week. So if I go to edit profile, now I can use pick lines. But here, so I'm going to just cancel that and save the file, because you might remember pick lines is when it'll often crash. So back to this, again, edit profile, pick lines, and yes, it's working, good. Okay, so I've just picked that sill to cut around it, to finish, and then we've got a nice mullion there that simply follows the sill, which is perfect. So now again back to curtain grid, and I'll pick the edge of that, what is it? Yeah, the edge of the sill. But notice that it's centred on the edge of the sill there, and we want it centred on the mullion below. So here's the one adjustment you should need to make to this grid. We need to select the grid line so that we can adjust it. So remember the option key in Revit is tab. I'm moving my cursor to the middle of that mullion. I'm going to press tab until it highlights the grid there, which you can see now. So that's it. And I know that this grid is, sorry, not the grid, the mullion is 50 mil wide. So I'm just going to click the Move tool, click a base point, move it to the left and type in 25. There we go. So here we go. There's a warning. Again, when you see warnings like this, don't worry. It's just giving you some information. You can usually ignore it. And there you are. So that's all lining up perfectly. So now maybe I'll just fine-tune those mullions. So I'm going to select one of them, and then you've got this option here to make continuous. I'll select this one over here again, make continuous, and that looks much better. We'll do that at the top as well. That easy. So then coming across, do the same thing here. Again, just select one of the mullions, put it intuitive, make continuous. There, for this one, there's something really strange here. They've got a roller door that covers up whatever's above that that door. It probably is the glass panel, so I'm going to leave it with a glass panel. But again, that will all be covered. And so it doesn't really matter what the join is there, I suppose. Might be better just to do it the same as the others though. If I select this one, again, make continuous. And there we are. So now this one, though, we don't want that to be continuous, so I'll bring this one up on the side. And that looks better. And again, you want to make sure all those sides come up and join. That's better. No, and this one over here. So I can see here, there's an extra mullion. So this one that I've selected, you can see actually goes all the way to the bottom. So I don't need the mullion that's going around the corner there, and I can select that. But you can see it's pinned, so I'm just going to click on that pin icon to unpin it, and I can delete that one. And then finally, we've got the mullion there sitting on the threshold where our door's going to go, so we don't want that mullion at all. So I'm going to select it, turn off the pin, and just again delete that one. So I've got an opening ready for the door, and now if I go back to the plan and find that glass panel, now I'm going to use tab to highlight the glass, go to edit type, and here you'll see one of the little bugs with Revit. It's an easy one to get around, but you'll see at the top that the load button is greyed out. It shouldn't be. It's just one of these things that happened with, it was 2017 or something, that started to happen. So to resolve that, you can simply go to the Insert tab, Load Family, go to Curtain Wall Panels, and then just choose any of them. It doesn't matter which one, we're just doing it so that it makes that button work. So I'll choose this one, because yeah, that's different to the one that I will end up using. Just click Open. Now, what happens if I select this glass again using Tab, Edit Type, and notice that now the load button is working. So you just need to load a panel once, and then the load button works from then on. Now if I wanted that one that I've just loaded, I could choose it from the list here. There it is, Curtain Wall Double Glass. But I don't want that one, I want a different one. Not a problem. Again, just load. Go to Curtain Wall Panels again, and I want the slightly chunkier one. That one. It's got the So this one. Curtain wall, store, front done. That's it. Okay. And we've got a door in plan. Let's see if we can tell which way the door opens by looking here. Probably opens inwards. You can see here because of the way the threshold is. And it's set back as well, which again tells you it most likely opens inwards. So just like any door, when it's selected, you can flip it using the arrows there. And there we are. So now back to the 3D view. We've got a basic setup for the storefront. So maybe just to finish up, I'll show you how to adjust these grids. If you want to change the spacing, you can do this in any view. Just remember, like I just showed you, you can press Tab to cycle through all the different objects that are there. And you need to go to the curtain grid and select it to adjust the position there. So if I press 1100. So again, I'll do the same over here. You don't need to use these values. This is just pretty arbitrary, just so you can see how to adjust the spacing to do what you need. Don't be too fussy with those measurements because, again, remember, we probably will need to bring this whole opening down. Once we put the awning in, we'll have a better idea of that facade. And yeah, just looking at this, they're obviously more rectangles than squares. So I think the whole thing needs to come down a little bit. But if you can at least get that set up there where you've got this pattern of openings, and particularly you've got the door there with the windowsill to the right, that'd be really good. So I'll give you some time to try that. Don't worry if it seems like there's a lot to learn with curtain walls. There are a lot of options, but it really is just practice, and once you get used to the different elements and using tabs selected, they're pretty good. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, sure. So unless you've got any questions, I'll finish up there and then give you some time to work on that. Go from there.